So Bob's about to record. Rob, if you'd like to share your deck, that would be great. Again, I think the sharing fell off. If I'm not wrong. So that would be fantastic. There we go. We're just coming up. I'm really excited about this. These are my neighbours, so to speak. They live in New Zealand. I'm in Australia, but I haven't seen Rob for some time. I spoke with Rob some time ago when we were creating the remote agility framework, and we were just running it up the flagpole. And Rob was somebody I sounded some stuff off him. Since then, I've watched Dr. Cherry and himself and their journey through the Teal journey and what they're doing with the Teal work, and I admire greatly. So it's a real pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Cherry Vu and Rob England. Real pleasure to have you on, and it'd be lovely if you'd introduce each of yourselves.
Hello, and thank you.
Hello, thank you very much for having us.
I'll do a very quick introduction because, as usual, we're trying to cover too much in the given time to tell you about this idea. But I have a background in IT for 30 years and ITSM, if for some of you will know what that is, service management and ITIL, and moving into process and management and governance of IT and consulting for quite a number of years. And I met Dr. Vu 7 years ago, and she was finishing a PhD in Victoria University here in Wellington and looking to go into government. And I said, oh, don't do that, come consulting with me. So we've formed a brand of Teal Unicorn and have worked together since then. Cherry, do you want to give us just a quick background on you before you met me in Wellington?
I was a lecturer of the National Academy of Public Administration. I kind of lecturing in public management and public policy for high-ranking government officers. And my background also, I own several businesses as CEOs and owners. So when I moved, I also spent some time in Germany to do my master degree in Germany. And what else? Now I am the assistant of Rob England, the famous Rob England.
You guys can work out who is the assistant of who, I think, later on. But if you haven't already guessed, we are a team in life and work. And interestingly, we started out, I was working primarily in Wellington consulting, and the business, if you haven't guessed already, Cherry's Vietnamese. And so we thought it would be cool to take these ideas to Vietnam, and it took off like a rocket. Because you're kind of behind the language barrier there. So having someone as brilliant and articulate as Cherry just gave us such a differentiator there. So now most of our work is in Vietnam these days. So in the process of doing that work, we've come up with a number of ideas that have, we build on the shoulders of others, and I've just sort of honed some of the techniques that we learned in our work with about 20 different organizations in Vietnam so far. And one of the things that works really well for us that we wanted to share is this idea of Teal Shu-Ha-Ri. So very quickly, we're going to tell you about some of the issues with the conventional approach to performance managing people and how we want to move towards a model of skills, not roles, in working, and a little bit about how we approach getting there. And I can see already that my builds are screwy, so I'll just talk through these very quickly, sorry. That if those of you like causal diagrams, I didn't check the builds on that one. The pressures in organizations arise because of siloed culture and top-down control and the learned helplessness that comes from that. and then all the consequences that flow from that to degrade service and discourage people. But one of the key ones that we focus on for this conversation is driving people by individual goals and individual measurement and individual KPIs, and how that builds a culture of competing with each other. And so thinking about all of these things, how do we build a more collaborative culture and more fluid, autonomous ways of working? You know, we could see that one of the primary issues is that when you goal individuals and measure individuals, it damages that collaborative culture in the organization, and it puts them under pressure and stresses them in ways that have knock-on effects as well.
It's
So
one thing we want to focus here as well is that it's a saying that just tell me how you measure me, I will tell you how I perform. So it's exactly how the KPI, individual KPIs that damage people and also the culture of organization. People behave the way they will be measured.
Absolutely. And we might briefly mention it later, but all metrics are wrong, right? We have got one slide on it. It's impossible to measure people, and so fairly and accurately. You cannot metricate human beings. So any KPI is going to distort behavior in negative ways. People are going to work to the KPI, not to the actual outcome that inspired the KPI, which is true of all metrics. So thinking about how do we need to change, we need to work to ways of measuring and motivating people that provide immediate feedback. I've been reading a lot lately, and I'm sure you have, about people dropping annual performance reviews as just theatre that are far more damaging than they are constructive. And so, you know, much shorter feedback loops and much clearer, more relevant feedback to people about how they're working that allow them to respond quickly, and that are collaborative feedback loops to people as well, not a manager telling you whether you're doing a good job or not, but, you know, the community, the group that you work in, understanding each other's capabilities in a collaborative way. So Teal Shu-Ha-Ri is the term we use to talk about how we approach this, and taking a primary focus on the development of the individual with regular feedback loops about how they're developing, to create an open performance management model. So in our modern world, more and more the people that we work, our jobs and the people we work with are knowledge workers, right? We're not production workers, and more and more we need to work in an environment, and you all know this, and you'll hear this in other presentations as well, an environment of psychological safety, of good work-life balance, of autonomy and self-organizing teams, and Daniel Pink's thing about autonomy, mastery, and purpose. Being able to master our capabilities and have a clear goal or purpose that we're working towards. So we're thinking about all of these elements when we approach putting together a skills model that we call Teal Shu-Ha-Ri. So we're focusing on regular assessment with continuous feedback and continuous improvement throughout the year. So it's an approach to drive employees to higher levels of performance in positive ways, not drive as in big stick, and to nurture their growth in ways that align to the goals of the organization and the goals of that individual. So one of the fundamentals behind it is skills, not roles. And you know, even in the Agile community now, I still constantly hear conversations that have this underlying assumption that people are working in specific roles. They're developer, they're business analyst, they're coach, whatever, right? And yet a lot of the philosophy of Agile is that, you know, people should work to their optimum personal capability and the skills that they have, not to the box that they've been put in, the defined role that they've been set. So, for example, you know, a Scrum Master can be a rotating role within the team that they all take turns with. Agile Coach could be a rotating role within the team that people take turns at. They're tasks that people can share and don't have to be assigned to an individual. So moving to skills, not roles, creates a fluidity of work to allow us to optimize the collaboration of the team and the utilization of the team. So have you heard of Shu-Ha-Ri? Many people on the call will have. It comes from martial arts, and Martin Fowler, who many of you will know in the Agile community, sort of modified it slightly to be Agile development language. And we pick it up pretty much as Martin structured it, to talk about how there are 3 primary levels of capability for the individual. There's Shu, where the person is learning and follows the patterns of work as defined. There's Ha, where people now know the patterns and can do intelligent disobedience. They can break the rules because they know why we have the rules. They understand the system as built. And then there's Ri, the master, people who can redefine the work and transcend the current ways of working. And so it's a really nice model for defining levels of capability, of skill in an individual. It's 3 levels that people seem to intuitively and quickly understand, right? So if we have a Shu-Ha-Ri approach, and if we set team goals that are aligned with the organizational vision, and the team themselves set their goals to approach that vision, and then we can evaluate the potential of people to contribute to those goals based on their skill, not their role, but the things that they're able to do. And we can do so in such a way as to ensure the fairness and accuracy of understanding that person's capability. So we'll unpack that a bit for you now. Do you want to jump in, Cherry? Are you happy so far?
I'm happy so far, darling.
Oh, my boss likes it. So in order to evaluate, so we like to, it's important to evaluate team performance, not individual performance. Because, as I said, you can't fairly and accurately measure an individual with numbers, and we don't want people to be chasing their own interests. We want to evaluate the team performance to see how the team is working, and then understand how the individuals can contribute to that. And so the results will be the contributions of the team to the organization. And so we'll see that as value outputs from the team. And so by taking this approach, it means managers aren't spending their time micro-measuring individuals. It's a variation to micromanagement. They're not spending their time observing and measuring individuals to produce feedback and assessment for them. And it just creates more positive team culture where people are happier if we are evaluating the team performance and then understanding people's potential to contribute to the team.
It is very interesting to observe people who are driven by the individual KPIs or individual bonus, like salespeople, and they just can't cope with the ideas of make a better result together. But when it changes, it's really the results. It's really incredible that we get about almost all of the organization that they apply these models. They increase not only the revenues but also the profit, and the cultures really change a lot.
We've tried this in a whole range of industries, which we'll mention briefly, but one of them was sales. Several of them were sales. Selling medical equipment, selling real estate, selling
Banking.
finance, banking, and so often the behavior of salespeople is actually to conceal information from each other because they don't want to lose their opportunity to a different salesperson. And so therefore they don't like sharing information with other people in the organization who could help them do their work in case that information leaks to other salespeople. And you get some really, I've worked in software sales for years and seen the same thing, that salespeople are all competing with each other, and it doesn't aid the flow of information, and it certainly doesn't encourage collaboration. So, by removing the big commissions for the individual salespeople, some salespeople leave, right? They want the big payola and all the glory, and they just go, well, I can't work that way. But that's actually a good thing, because the salespeople who stay and are willing to work that way are team players. They're salespeople who want to work collaboratively with the rest of the organization to achieve an organizational result. So it has a positive effect, and we reward the team for the sale, which means that everybody's motivated to help the salesperson. So that's a really good example of this kind of thinking. So how do you measure people's capability to contribute to the value? And so our approach, which, as I say, we've sort of polished over time, is to identify the key skills needed for a team to get done the goals that it set itself. So they'll create a list of the skills we need as a team to do the work. And then for those skills, look at the Shu-Ha-Ri levels of each skill and do a clear definition of what a Shu person can do if they have this skill. So it's what they can do. It's observable things they're able to achieve if they have that skill. And so each level of skill is defined by observable results, not subjective opinion. You don't have some boss sitting there saying, I think you're good at this. It says, if you're hard at this skill, you should be able to do this, 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 and this. Have we seen you do this, 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 and this? So in your Shu-Ha-Ri levels, at a Shu level of knowing the way, there should be an ability to complete workflow-based tasks, defined tasks, according to set instructions. At a Ha level, we'll define the ability to organize, to coordinate, to contribute improvement, and the ability to train apprentices. And then at the Re level, the master will demonstrate the ability to come up with effective models and mechanisms and policies to drive the work and to train at the lower levels. I've just noticed that in the translation from Vietnamese, it says train and train. I mean, that will be to mentor and train employees at the lower levels.
Training and coaching.
Yeah, coach.
Mm.
So, for example, you know, in HR, an HR team might define the key skills they need is to recruit people, to do training and development, to do policy development, and to develop the relations with the rest of the employees. So that's the kind of things we'd say when we say define what the skills are. And then for a specific skill, like this one is establish relationships with customers, then you define the observable behaviors for Shu-Ha-Ri levels for that specific skill. So we list what the skills are for the team, and then we build a matrix of what it looks like to be Shu, to be Ha, and to be Ri at each of those levels. And incidentally, the way that work is done is usually in a big room in a day. So Cherry's a master at facilitating big collaborative workshops to get people to a result in a day, to get a bunch of people together, all the stakeholders, and knock this thing out. You don't let it turn into a bureaucratic nightmare of documents being shared for months and circulated by email, right? Don't do that. We slam it out as a collaborative exercise that will get most of it done in a day with some then polishing to be done afterwards. Yeah, Cherry?
In fact, I'm going to have 2 hours doing Shu-Ha-Ri with a bunch of BODs people in a group. And if you guys speak Vietnamese, then you can join me.
Won't be two. There'll be a few on this call that speak Vietnamese. But, yeah, so it's something we do often, right? Because we'll work with individual teams or a group of teams to define this matrix. And then once that's defined, then each individual self-assesses. So for each skill, they'll self-assess how they see themselves doing, which is something that makes conventional managers deeply uncomfortable. But the thing is that once they've done that, then the group will review each individual's assessment. So people don't tend to inflate their assessments when they're going to then sit down with the rest of the team who go, really, dude? You really think you're higher at this, do you? And that's not a subjective conversation because there are clearly observable behaviors. So you're assessing yourself as high here, but no one's ever seen you do this, this, and this. The skill level is defined by observable results. So it's not people sitting in judgment of each other. It's people validating what others have been observed to have achieved. And they're in Vietnamese, but you can see that we can collate the results to get really interesting pictures of each individual's profile in different skill sets in different ways to allow us to have a picture of the team. So remember, the primary goal of this is to create a team that has the skills they need to achieve what we want to get done. So we can look at a picture like this and see where the weaknesses are in the team. I'll show you some more pictures in a minute.
It's just like you look at the picture of the whole organization, and it's kind of X-ray organization in terms of capacities that everyone's and the whole group or the whole organization have. And it's very powerful in order to improve the capacity of the organization.
And I want to stress that it's not bureaucratic to create this or to run it. You know, we keep it very light, very collaborative, and very much people together doing this in real time. So just to remind us that the whole point of this is you cannot measure the performance of an individual. I get quite militant about this. Some of you will know online that any numbers you come up with to measure the contribution of an individual in terms of results will always be wrong. They'll always be unfair. That you know, people mentor others. People are the one that people go to cry on their shoulder. You know, they contribute to morale. They contribute to esprit. They contribute to development of ideas. You know, they develop to knowledge base. They function as a repository of organizational knowledge. There's all sorts of things that people do that don't show up in most of the metrics that management come up with to measure them. We want to just measure their capability, their potential to contribute, rather than trying to measure numbers around what they have achieved. So we want to look at their potential to be part of the team, and so that's skills. So we also don't measure attitude of the individual for the philosophical reason that skill is something intrinsic to the individual. The motivation is primarily something extrinsic. If an employee is not engaged and enthusiastic, the first place we look is the system, not the individual. We don't say, what's wrong with you? We say, what's wrong with where you find yourself in the work? And what is the system doing to you that makes you behave this way? People also raise the issue that someone will just dislike someone else and skew the results of reviewing their skills, right? But first of all, it's this observable behavior, so it's as objective as possible. But also, when a group of people are talking about this stuff, it's very hard for people to hide any emotional bias they have. It tends to be pretty obvious to the rest of the group.
And it's also the measurements or the way we define in each level, or even the key skills that we measure. It's continued improvement. So it's not just stick there for do it once and done. And we improve it over time.
Yeah, it's all about encouraging the growth of the individual and understanding that people are on a journey. Another principle we don't have in here is start with what you got, right? So the people you have are the people you have. And again, you know, there's this sort of management attitude or idea that if only we could find the right people, then we'd work really well. Well, A, you're not going to find the perfect people, and B, the people you got are the people you got, and the system functions because it flows through those people, and the institutional knowledge is in those people. So throwing those people away to get better people is only going to destroy the system of work. It's not going to help at all. So by understanding our current people and their current capability, and then moving forward from that point, is how we get better. So as Cherry said, we can get a picture of the whole group and understand and see where the holes are in the capability. So again, the primary goal of Teal Shu-Ha-Ri, of open performance management, is to create this fluidity within the team. So the individual assessment and the ability to pay people is actually a secondary benefit. The primary goal is about fluidity of work, agility. And so that comes from being able to decide who does a task based on their availability and skills, not their role. So if we've got some some business analysis work to be done. It's not that the person with the job title of business analyst is the only one who can do it. It's that anyone who knows how to do business analysis can decide that they're available to do the task. So we might come up with a picture like this to say that this team needs admin capabilities, sales capabilities. This is actually from Viet Can, who import and sell and support very high-tech medical equipment. And so, you know, and the teams are cross-functional teams who support a specific machine, like lasering. Notice I look very young for my age. Lasering around the eyes, laser machines, that kind of thing. So you might have one team that sells the laser machine. So they need skills within the team that around admin, sales, being able to actually use the machine as a therapist, having the technical skills to support the machine, and marketing capabilities. So I might want all those skills within a cross-functional team. And we need, you know, high-level skills in admin. We need all skills right up to in sales. We don't actually need high level of therapist skills within the team, because we're not running a business, we're selling these machines. So the therapist just needs to be able to demonstrate the machine, right? And then high levels of marketing, and we need medium levels of technician in our team, because there is a fallback, deep technical team behind us who will help with anything. They'll have a remaster. So, you know, we come up with some profile of the sort of skills the levels of these skills that we think we need in the team. We need these skills at these levels. And do we want redundancy? Do we want at least 2 people to be able to do this thing, or at least 3, or so on, in each of these skills? And then having done that, then we can look at our team and the people in our team and say, do we have these skills covered within the people we have, or do we need to get someone else because we've got holes here? Do we need another person, or could one of these people skill up to take on the level that we don't have? And so we don't use the phrase in this presentation, I've just realized, but I love the term team Tetris, that start where you are, start with the people that you've got, and try and fit them together like a game of Tetris, right? Like trying to fit these odd shapes. Each person is an odd, unique, individual shape, and trying to fit the shapes of your team members together to see if you can cover the whole grid, cover the profile that you want. And so we'll work through a sequence of steps to achieve that. In the interest of time, you will get the presentations. Do you want to say anything specifically to that slide, Cherry, or can I just kind of power past it?
You just pass it, yeah. Then we can answer the question or any curious question.
Yeah, because I see one good question there already.
Yeah.
But let me just finish first and say, how does it work? So we, first of all, will help them identify their goals and what are they goals, and then who has those skills. So what results do we need to achieve? What does good look like? And the things that we need to do and prioritizing them. And then how are we going to do the work to get it done? And then we can say, well, who's going to be able to do that work? Do they need anyone support? So maybe a shoe person is saying, I can have a go at it if I've got someone else to help me. And so we'll have a matrix to understand who's available to do the work that we want to get done at the moment. And then we'll measure progress as we go through that, and then we can regularly review to see whether people have the skills that we need to do the work that we're doing, and how they can develop and grow for their own personal benefit, but also for the benefit of the team and the organization to grow in such ways that it helps us meet our goals, right?
Mm.
And then from that, we can upskill. So we're always trying to cross-skill the team. We're always trying to have multiple people at different levels of each skill within the team. So you don't have that single point of failure, you don't have that bottleneck, that one person who's being burned. You know, if someone's at HAR level, it's great to be able to offload work to a couple of people who are at SHU level. So the simpler work they can pass to people they're currently apprenticing to develop their skill, and they can focus on just the harder bits of work themselves. So as a consequence of all that, it also means that we have a mechanism for paying people that is better than paying individual commissions or achievement of individual KPIs, which, as I said, are always unfair. So the base salary is published, and then we take the profits, we take the value produced by the organization and share that across the teams according to their base salary, so where they sit on that, and a proportion of the profits of the organization according to their skill levels. So the more they increase their Shu-Ha-Ri levels, the more proportion of the profits they will get. And it works in multiple organizations, as we said. So someone asked the question around what kind of organizations and where, and so about 20 different business units across more than a dozen organizations, one of the biggest banks in Vietnam, one of the biggest finance organizations in Vietnam, the medical importer, a big construction company, real estate, beauty spa equipment.
Several different agencies like e-learning or communication.
E-learning and education, manufacturers, lingerie manufacturers, big clothing. I'm wearing a shirt from one of our very big clothing manufacturers. So a real diversity of kinds of organizations, from small to big corporate. Not a lot of government yet, but otherwise all over the map, the organizations that we're working with. And they also ask, where are they at in their journey, Cherry? So, you know, some are years in well settled, and some are just starting, right?
Yeah, but we always, when we look at the cause and effect of the system, it's always come from the individual's KPIs that affect the performance of organization. So normally we go straight to Shu-Ha-Ri to measure the capacity of people and to kind of clear the system to make it one goal, not individual goals and multiple goals. So it changed a lot of things in terms of cultures and the results. So once we always start at the beginning. So in terms of journey, whether the organization is already very agility, or they just in the beginning, most of them start from SHU. Most of them, once they understand that they have to touch in the basic problems that is because of the KPIs and individual goals. So they understand that they have to change. So they agree with us that they will start from there. Any other question?
Probably got time for one or two. anybody's got a question?
It is very interesting to observe the impact of this on the culture. And one of the things we haven't emphasized is how much it takes management out of the loop.
Yeah.
So management are not sitting in judgment of the team anymore. They're not doing reviews of the team. It's
Right.
the team. The individuals are reviewing themselves, and the team are guiding each other in the skills that they need.
And
Hey.
because also we talk about how their skills to contribute to the values that organizations create. So everyone sitting in the same skills, manager or even people, they're just on the same skills. No, nobody is higher than anyone.
Brilliant. Well, Dr. Cherry and Rob, I have to say
Thank you
we've
so
reached the end of time. I'm sure people have got questions, so they'll reach out to you. Again, as I said, I've been a fan of the work that you've been doing, and I think I can see that a lot of people have got a lot to think around that. I really appreciate the way you think about this rather than just the linear way that a lot of organisations enter into this. You again, please show your appreciation, those that have got your cameras on, but thank you so much for being part of today. And you are our final act, so to speak, in APAC. So you've made it. So very, very much appreciate it. Thank you very much. Woohoo!
Thank you so much for having
Well,
us.
thank you for the opportunity, and thank you, Bob and Tony, for grinding through a full day of this. I know how tough that is to make something like this happen. So big props to you guys too.
Incredible.
Oh, you're welcome. We're super, super glad to see you both and to meet you.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of the day. So firstly, I think it would be remiss if we didn't extend our appreciation to Bob Gallen for putting the day together. I might have been part and parcel of it, but it really is Bob's piece of work and his brainchild, and it does a lot of that stuff. So
Thank you, everyone.
And it's
Thank
past his
you.
Thank you.
well past his bedtime.
It is, well, it is. I have a date with a bed in a few minutes. So, but thank you, everyone.
Is there anything further you'd like to say before we finish up today?
Me, I appreciate everyone for hanging out. I appreciate you for supporting this event. I appreciate you all for being part of this wonderful community. I am blessed and thankful for the community that we have and how we get together and we help each other. So I just want to say thank you for being a part of it.
And do make sure you take advantage of the other sessions that are available to you. And remember the details Bob dropped into the chat around the Dropbox and all of the links where you can get all of this information on all of the talks. It's been fantastic on behalf of Bob and myself. Thank you, everyone, and have a great rest of that evening, day, morning, or the next day.
Everyone take good care. Bye now.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.